of federal drug offenders sentenced to prison were under 30 years old. What measures need to be taken to fix our broken criminal justice system in order to get millennials out from behind bars and back into society as productive and successful members? We'll start this one in reverse order with Mr. Gillespie.
You know, when you look at the impact of, and this ties to the previous question in terms of the opioid and heroin addiction, and we are losing 3 Virginians a day on average dying from this epidemic of heroin abuse and opioids. We've got to address it. We need to have education, interdiction, intervention. And then in terms of the incarceration, the average cost of incarceration per person in our Virginia jails, prisons, is $29,000 per year per inmate. And if we could make sure that we can get folks, intervene in time for them to have education, to have interdiction, to crack down on dealers, keep them out of the jails, obviously, that would save us a lot of money, but it would also save a lot of lives, which is important. We've also got to help those who have served their time re-enter our society. I believe in redemption and reconciliation, and one of the problems that we have is when people come out of jails. I was in Chesterfield Jail a couple months ago. I met with 45 inmates who were incarcerated there, millennials, most of them, dealing with their heroin addiction in the heroin addiction recovery program. And one of the things you'll hear from them is when we come out, we cannot find work, we can't get a job, we relapse, and then we end up engaged in recidivism to support our addiction. We've got to have some reforms here that make it easier for people when they come out of jails, if they've completed a program of recovery, to encourage employers to hire them. We can mitigate risk to employers and cover costs for that, but it would save us money when you're looking at $29,000 a year per inmate.
Mr. Riggleman.
So I'm allowed to share this story. It's a personal story. I asked my brother about it. So my brother was incarcerated for marijuana, intent to distribute, got 9 months in jail. Got 10 years, but they suspended most of it and gave him 5 years of probation. When I asked about trying to get into the workforce, he said a couple of things. He said, number one, I was paying for my own jail time and for the fact that I had child support while I was in jail based on a marijuana conviction. By the way, just 2 weeks ago, he had his rights given back to him to vote after 10 years. When we look at this type of thing going on, and you look at if it is the millennial population, drugs, I think sometimes are linked to jobs. I think it's linked to some of the policies that we make as a governor or as a legislature to make sure that we're doing the right things so that millennials know that they have a support structure out there, not only with a fair playing field, that if they do screw up, like my brother did, that they're going to get help transitioning back into the community. This isn't a long answer for me. All I know is that from my personal experience, we have to somehow not only educate, but we have to help them integrate back into society on some kind of financial level. We probably shouldn't be charging inmates for jail time. We probably shouldn't be doing some of those things. That's why I'm so passionate about this subject. When you have family members that have been through it, and some of you might have out there, you sort of understand that trying to transition back into society is so daggone difficult. So, when I'm governor, I think we have to look at education, but also helping them to financially transition back into our environment. Thank you.
Senator Walker.
Thank you. Can you all hear me? Oh, great. Thank you all for the question, and let me just say this, that I think when you look at millennials, you need to separate the type of crime, whether it's violent or nonviolent. If it's a violent crime, incarceration is altogether the appropriate position for people who commit violent crimes. Now, we've put into place here in Virginia, we need to expand, and I guess it comes with the experience of knowing what's going on in Richmond, drug courts. And drug courts have proved themselves to be very effective in those localities where we've instituted them. And what a drug court is recognize that an addict, in order to support their habit, committed a crime. And it gives them an opportunity to actually seek treatment and have that reduced sentence perhaps even expunged from their records. And that's the appropriate, in my mind, way to go. To give that opportunity, understanding they have an addiction. It's the addiction that drove them to the crime to pay for the addiction. And let's get them into a treatment program rather than to prosecute these people, make them criminals for the rest of their lives, can't find the jobs, can't do many of the things we're talking. It's a program that's proved itself working. It's one of those programs that needs to be expanded in Virginia. Now, violent felons, that's the appropriate place for violent felons. And to tell you the truth, I have very little use for them. The drug court's been very, very good, and it's the experience in Richmond, I think, to know that. And one more thing that comes, and it was a comment I heard earlier, we do have programs that provide tax credits to employees if they seek employment who are already felons. I know in my shipyard I've used those programs to give people a second chance to work and get back to work again. Chairman Stewart.
Well, this is something that, first of all, I want to say to Denver, I don't think that his brother should have been jailed in the first place. We need to be focusing on the real crimes, the real problems that we have, but I think it's absolutely atrocious that we're jailing people simply because they're in possession of marijuana. That's got to end, and I am all for decriminalizing marijuana in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I'm not talking about legalizing it, because I don't think it's good, but I think we need to be focusing our resources on the real crimes and the real problems. Every day in the Commonwealth of Virginia, 24 people are hospitalized for overdoses. And by the way, the prisons and our jails are the wrong places to be treating mental illness. It is absolutely shameful. It is absolutely shameful that we don't have a system in the Commonwealth. A system, a mental health system inside of our jail system. We need mental health courts, not just in Norfolk. We got one of those courts. We need them all across because it's the wrong thing to do. Not only is it wrong for the person who is jailed, but it's wrong for the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's wrong for the taxpayers that we're jailing people who can't get medication, their only crime has been, frankly, that they can't get the treatment that they need in order to recover themselves and become productive citizens.